We are reading from the Yoga Sutras. This is our online class number 33. We are studying the second chapter, aphorism number 45 onwards, and I hope to complete this chapter today. Let us see. So, last time we were discussing the sutra or aphorism Ishvara Pranidhanat Va, or by surrendering to God. I quoted the 8-stanza poem written by Shankaracharya, which is famously known as Bhavani Ashtakam. There we have got a glimpse of what the word Ishvara Pranidhana actually means. What are the implications? It was such a comprehensive narration of what one needs to remember to be able to truly surrender to God. Further, the Yoga Sutras says, a yogi who is established in Ishvara Pranidhana, following the rules of Niyama, will be able to attain Samadhi Siddhi, mastery over Samadhi. What is this Samadhi Siddhi or mastery over Samadhi? It is clear that the word Samadhi itself speaks of what it is. Why do you need to say Samadhi Siddhi? It is because it is a kind of Samadhi which has all the Siddhis or supernatural powers included in it. Like suppose the accomplished yogi will be able to know about all that she or he wishes to. She or he will know what has happened or has been happening in another body, at another places and other times. In his or her wisdom, all things which are bound by time, space and object limitations, Desha Kala Vastu limitation, will be properly reflected as it happens, and it will be reflected in the mind of God. Ishvara Pranidhana makes it easy to attain to Samadhi Siddhi because your mind becomes one with the mind of God. So you will know all those Siddhis. Then Samadhi Siddhi leads one to Samadhi through the practice of Samprajñata and Asamprajñata Yoga. So Samadhi Siddhi will help us to go through all the practices prescribed by the Yoga Sutras. Samadhi Siddhi is not actual Samadhi, which is the meaning of the Yoga Sutras. Some people ask, if Ishvara Pranidhana is the means to Samadhi Siddhi, then what is the need of all the limbs of yoga? A good question, indeed. However, this is a misunderstanding. The Yoga Sutras has provided 7 alternatives to achieve Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Actually 8 ways. One is the direct one and 7 are alternatives. So Chitta Vritti Nirodha means stopping the modifications of the mind. These alternatives are nothing but alambanas. Alambanas means aids or objects of concentration. An object which we hold on to concentrate, that is called alambana. They may be in any form which has a universal meaning or holy meaning. Actually speaking, they are meditated upon in their idea form. Like for instance, you are meditating on Sri Ramakrishna, you take the image of his on your mind. Close your eyes and then concentrate or rather meditate on the idea image of Sri Ramakrishna. One of the 7 alternatives, as I said, is Ishvara Pranidhana. It is one of the 7 alternatives, surrendering to God. This does not mean an act called surrender. Ishvara Pranidhana is not an act that is called surrender. It is not a verb, but an object. That is God, for whom this surrender is meant. This Pranidhana or surrender is the best of all other alternatives. That is why Patanjali mentions this as the first and best alternative. Yoga Sutras is a dual philosophy. Hence there is the prescription for taking up concrete objects for meditation. Any form of samadhi is a concentration on a form or object which is called an alambana, aid to samadhi. Taking up this alternative, one can proceed to practice all the steps of Samprajñata and Asamprajñata samadhis. Let us recall that in the study of the first chapter, we have learnt about these samadhis like Savitarka, Nirvitarka, Savichara, Nirvichara, etc. Ananda, Smita samadhis. There are 7 types of samadhis. So, I am not going to include those details in my talk now. Till now, we talked about the first 2 limbs of yoga, yama and niyama. They will be regarded as basic practices of yoga if we take yoga as a way to our spiritual liberation. Now Patanjali is introducing a very practical step of achieving samadhi. That is called asanam, means posture and seat. It is not only the seat but posture also. So he says, the 46th aphorism, Sthira Sukham Asanam. Sthira Sukham Asanam. Posture is that which is firm, Sthira means firm, and Sukham, pleasant. Let me explain it as a practical step. Yes, it is a practical step. We have to remember that the asana instructions prove that it is a very mechanical process. And suppose you are sitting for meditation. You need to gather your mind from outside objects, outside places and times, because they are obstructions to meditation. But the main hurdle or obstruction is your own body. It is itching, shaking, moving, twitching, and anything it can do. Doing all sorts of things to disturb your concentration. This body, your own body. Suppose you are able to stop these nuisances. Still there will remain a problem undetected, and that is the possibility of falling asleep. Deep meditation is called sleeping. Sometimes it is like that. When the body becomes quiet, the mind will experience a nice relaxed state. And with both body and mind at peace, you will try to enjoy a good nap. Sometimes it's called a power nap. What happens in reality is that when you are quietly sitting in meditation, your head, which is heavy, tends to lean forward. We know that. As in the case of any mass, the mass of the head is unceasingly being pulled by the gravitational force. This is a law of physics. Then your body bends forward. It facilitates sleep. That is why we are advised to achieve a good posture. We have to put the balance of the head on our spinal cord, spinal column, a load-bearing column, that is. In order to fix this mechanical process, we need to work first on the lowest part of the body, the foundation. That is why at first the arrangement of asana or a seat has been prescribed. Let us follow Sri Krishna's lead to prepare ourselves for sitting in meditation. He says in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that in a clean place which can be considered to be used for a holy purpose, establish your stable seat that is not too high, natyuchritam, natinicham, not too low. Make the seat with cloth, deer skin and grass mat placed one above the other, one over the other. That means in our time, in the present time, we need to get some similar things to prepare our asana. When you are sitting on the asana, it should protect the lowest part of your body from cold and also from numbness, and will provide some kind of advantage which is called comfort, to sit on it for a long time. That is the meaning of comfort. It does not disturb you. Then Sri Krishna speaks about the posture. One should hold one's body, neck and head upright in a straight line and stare steadily at the or on the tip of the nose. Okay, the easy explanation would be sit in a straight posture with your spine, neck and head on a straight line. The weight of the head should be placed on a proper balance, and that is a vertically straight spine and neck. Do not make it awkwardly straight, but make it comfortably straight. Slightly rock the body forward and backward and also very gently on the sides, and then try to find the proper balance. After a few days of practice, you will strike the balance yourself. Then the physical body will not be a problem during meditation. It will save you from falling asleep or dozing off. There are many types of yogic asanas, like they call Padmasanas, the lotus posture, Virasanam, Bhadrasanam, Swastika asanam, and many other such asanas are prescribed for sitting in meditation. Then Sri Krishna speaks about positioning the eyeballs. One should try to look at the tip of the nose. The idea of fixing the eyeballs or our gaze on the tip of the nose is that you will stop looking here and there. Dishascha anavalokayan, Sri Krishna says. You will be stopping looking at here and there. So position the eyeballs as if you are looking at the tip of the nose. Then with the eyeballs in that position, now calmly close the eyelids downwards. When you are dropping the eyelid downward to close them, you will experience that it immediately reduces much agitation in the mind and will bring peace before meditation. Do it for yourself and you will see what magic it can do. It will immediately calm the mind. That is how the yoga is a science of spirituality, practical spirituality. So practical and so fulfilling from the beginning. Swami Vivekananda explains it almost in the similar way. He says, now comes asana, posture. Until you can get a firm seat, you cannot practice the breathing and other exercises. Firmness of seat means that you do not feel the body at all. In the ordinary way, you will find that as soon as you sit for a few minutes, all sorts of disturbances come into the body. But when you have got beyond the idea of a concrete body, you will lose all sense of the body. You will feel neither pleasure nor pain, And when you take your body up again, it will feel so rested. It is only perfect rest that you can give to the body. This is the only perfect rest. And when you take your body up again, it will feel so rested, he said. When you have succeeded in conquering the body and keeping it firm, your practice will remain firm. But while you are disturbed by the body, your nerves become disturbed and you cannot concentrate the mind. Now Patanjali adds more dimensions to the asana. He took it so seriously because, practically speaking, this is the foundation of applied yoga, doing what is known as meditation. He says, Prayatna Shaithilyat, Shaithilya Ananta Samapatti Bhyam. Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapatti Bhyam. There are two things in this aphorism, two ideas. Prayatna Shaithilya plus Ananta Samapatti. Let me explain them one by one. At first, Prayatna Shaithilya, that means loosen the body and leave it like that. That means forget about it. Do not keep your mind engaged in the process of loosening further. Loosening means relaxing. Prayatna Shaithilya means relaxation. Prayatna Shaithilya means, it is a very significant word. This actually means without effort, effortlessly. You will be able to remain in a posture during your practice of concentration or meditation without putting an effort to maintain that posture. Please remember it. If you have to be constantly or off and on alert about your posture or need to control your posture, your mind will be with the body and not with meditation or concentration. Clear? Those who practice Shavasana, they know that it is very difficult to just lie down, having the body relaxed as the body of a sleeping child. Shava, like a dead body, it is better explained when you take the example of a sleeping child, that relaxed posture. Real relaxation of the posture is achieved when the mind is taken out of the posture. When you achieve a real posture, you would feel that the body is not separate from the ground. You will forget that it is sitting on the asana or seat. It has become one with the seat and with the ground. Then after some time, you will forget about the body altogether. Of course, a word of caution has to be uttered. The asana or posture will not be achieved perfectly in the beginning. Initially, there will be difficulties and also pains, numbness, but do not force it for longer time. A bit of stretching before sitting would be very good. Then again, the muscles of our body, particularly those in the lower parts, are not always the same for everyone. And also, they are not the same for bodies of all ages. Those who would practice asana at an advanced age should practice it very slowly and patiently, following a strict schedule. Do not increase the time. Do not increase the force immediately. Then the second word that is used here is Ananta Samapatti. As I said, when you attain perfection in the practice of asana, you will forget about time, forget about place and also the objects around you, excepting yourself, of course. Advancing still further, you, the meditator, will forget your own existence. Then what happens? You are freed from limitation, anta, or in other words, you become limitless ananta, like space. This is called ananta samapatti. Samapatti means samadhi, limitless samadhi. If this experience happens to ordinary people, they would be scared that the body is lost. Or even after coming out of this experience, they will feel the same fear. But if it happens to advanced yogis, they will be overjoyed with the experience, because they will know that they have regained their real nature, free from the body. Swami Vivekananda explains it in a beautiful way. We can make the seat firm by thinking of the infinite. We cannot think of the absolute infinite, but we can think of the infinite sky that is known to us. Then Patanjali proceeds further to the next aphorism, that is 48, aphorism number 48. Tato dvandva anabhighataha. Tato means seat being conquered. The dualities, dvandva, dualities do not obstruct. Anabhighata. The dualities means good and bad, heat and cold, and all the pairs of opposites will not then disturb you. Then Yoga Sutra moves on to the next anga or limb of yoga and explains the benefit of pranayama. Benefit of pranayama. It has explained pranayama already, but now it will tell us what is the benefit of pranayama. And this again goes into much details. So aphorism number 49, it says that tasmin sati swasa praswasayoho gativichedaha pranayama. A wonderful explanation here. Controlling the motion of exhalation and the inhalation follows after this. When the posture has been conquered, then the motion of the prana has to be broken and controlled. Thus we come to pranayama, the controlling of the vital forces of the body. Prana is not breath, though it is usually so translated. It is the sum total of the cosmic energy. It is the energy that is in each body. That is what Swami Vivekananda says. And its most apparent manifestation is the motion of the lungs. This motion is caused by prana drawing in the breath, and it is what we seek to control in pranayama. You may go back to the beginning of the Yoga Sutra explanations by Swami Vivekananda, and there you will see that he has spoken about this prana and akasha. A wonderful great lecture there. We begin by controlling the breath as the easiest way of getting control of the prana. The yoga teachers of pranayama in general explains pranayama as controlling our breathing. But the meaning of the word, as we have already discussed earlier and as Swami Vivekananda has said, is the control ayamaha of prana, the vital force, the work on the upper part of the body. The vital force prana actually works on the upper part of the body, and mostly known by its effect called breathing. Prana, the vital force, is divided into 5 names: prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, etc., according to its different need, different acts and manifestation at different parts of the body. So pranayama is not just control of breathing, but controlling prana, one of the 5 vital forces that works on the upper part of the body. This prana cannot be controlled and properly channelized unless we catch it by its action, the breathing. That is why pranayama is mostly connected with breathing. Hence, the purpose of pranayama is to reorient or to rechannelize our vital energy. Swami Vivekananda and some serious spiritual yoga teachers explained it in this way. An example to clarify the matter, that when we breathe in, air flows into our lungs and they expand. This is how we understand the prana force or breathing. And that is why the teachers instruct saying, breathe in, hold the air inside and breathe out the air like that. But let us reorient our idea about this process. Let us say, inflate the lungs, which is called puraka, hold it for some time, kumbhaka, then deflate the lungs, rechaka. See, the stress is given on prana, not air, breathing. When you inflate the lungs, then only the air flows in. Otherwise, the air cannot force on your lungs to go inside. Puraka happens when our prana force, the vital energy which works on the upper part of the body, that helps us to inflate our lungs. Then only air flows in. It is not that breathe in. It is just inflate the lungs. Hold that breath for some time. So hold that lungs in that position for some time, kumbhaka. Then deflates the lungs. That is called rechaka, means throwing out air. So this is the machine which is called the lungs. They are working because of the force of the prana, not because the air is forcing on it. We have to remember it. Breathing control is controlling the prana which moves the lungs. This is the real process. But in order to do that, we have to take the help of air. That is true. Otherwise, if we go down into water and breathe in, water will flow in. That happens. Now, one is advised to repeat mystic formulas and mantras while doing the process. This process helps us to control the energy and then rechannelize our mind into the right direction. That is spiritual liberation, spiritual direction. But in practicing the process, we get the health benefits, both physical and mental. These are byproducts of the spiritual process. Fortunately or unfortunately, these byproducts have incredible market value, and hence the main purpose of pranayama has been reduced to producing the byproducts. Similarly, the purpose of the seat and posture or asana is meant for helping us to achieve samadhi and not to teach us how to sit quietly and comfortably and then go on thinking nonsense, harmful thoughts, etc. This is not the purpose. Another thing that is being very clearly advised or explained here is that pranayama is vicheda, stopping, gatihi, the flow of swasa and praswasa, breathing in and breathing out. See, vicheda is called pranayama, break, stopping. This is called purakanta kumbhaka, when you breathe in and do not breathe out immediately. This is called kumbhaka, pranayama, kumbhaka pranayama. This is purakantaka kumbhaka. Breathe in and do not breathe out. Hold back that breath. This vicheda or break before throwing out air is called pranayama. This is one pranayama, one vicheda, one break. Similarly, you breathe out and do not breathe in for some time. Breathe out and do not breathe in for some time. So holding your breath, having the break outside, as it were. That is called rechakanta kumbhaka. Kumbhaka which is achieved after throwing out air, rechaka. This is again called pranayama according to the Yoga Sutras, not according to Hatha Yoga. Please remember this. Hatha means using force. So that yoga. So in the first chapter of the book, Patanjali introduced pranayama as one of the 7 alternatives. It is an alternative to attain samadhi, not to give us health benefit only. He said, Patanjali said, Prachardana vidharana abhyam va pranasya. Vidharana, dharana means holding back. By the practice of reorienting prana. How to do that? By the process of exhaling air and then not breathing in for some time. This is what is called pranayama. This is rechaka anta kumbhaka, or giving the flow of air a break after exhalation or after exhaling. This includes kumbhaka, or holding back air after inhaling also. So this is called kumbhaka. One more thing, the 8 limbs of yoga are complementary to each other. That means when you are struggling with the posture, asana, you are also struggling with pranayama. When you are comfortable with asana, practiced it properly, you will be comfortable with pranayama. So they are interdependent. Therefore, if we do pranayama without making the body steady in asana or posture, and at the same time without guiding the flow of thoughts to one object, then our efforts to do pranayama will not be called yoganga, a part of yoga. It won't be called a part of yoga. That is why with each breath of pranayama, one has to keep the awareness connected with the ekatattva, one goal, liberation. That is the goal. That means when you do kumbhaka, gati vichcheda, or a break in inhalation or exhalation, there should be a break in our thoughts, but not in our awareness. There should not be any break in our awareness about the spiritual goal. This is how the mental science of pranayama works. Pranayama is one of the 7 alternatives of yoga, as I said, the name and aim of which is samadhi. Yoga means samadhi. The Yoga Sutras is a spiritual book for spiritual liberation. Pranayama is one of the ways to achieve that. To achieve samadhi, that would give you the liberation. Merely reducing it to a material purpose, that you are doing it solely for the body-mind wellness, is not the purpose of this anga or limb of yoga. Body-mind wellness is achieved as byproducts of any spiritual practice. That is a no-brainer, a kid stuff. Bhajya abhyantara stambha vritti desha kala sankhya bhi paridrishta dirghya sukshma. Bhajya abhyantara stambha vritti. Pranayama's modifications are either external, bhajya, or internals. That is the next aphorism actually, aphorism number 50. So either external or internal, or motionless, regulated by place, time and number, either long or short. We have already seen that pranayama is not something which is just flow of air or motion of air, but it is a break in the flow. In gati, the flow of swasa, inhaling, and praswasa, exhaling. Now let us look at the words used here by Patanjali. Bhajya vrittihi. Bhajya means outside. Vrittihi means movement. So Bhajya vrittihi is outside movement, exhaling. Then Bhajya stambha vritti, that is not inhaling after exhaling. Stambha means break. Or abhyantara vritti, that is inside movement, inhaling. Abhyantara stambha vritti, that is not exhaling after inhaling. Once again, let us repeat this one. Bhajya vritti, bhajya means outside, vritti means movement. So bhajya vritti is outside movement, exhaling. Similarly, bhajya stambha vritti is not inhaling air after exhaling. Stambha means break, we have seen. Abhyantara vritti is inside movement, inhaling and Abhyantara Stambha Vritti is not exhaling after inhaling. Let me elaborate on the Stambha Vrittis. Bajya Stambha Vritti, having a break in breathing outside Bajya. That means first exhale throughout air to make the lungs empty and do not breathe in. Or Abhyantara Stambha Vritti is having a break in breathing inside. That means inhale to fill the lungs and do not exhale. We may say Rechaka, exhale. Kumbhaka, remain like that without breathing in. Puraka, inhale. Again Kumbhaka, remain without breathing out. So the famous words for these Vaishya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti and Stambha Vritti are Rechaka, Kumbhaka and Puraka. Right? That we know. We all know them. But these three words, Rechaka, Puraka, Kumbhaka, they are introduced by later yoga users, not by Patanjali. Patanjali's words are like this. Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, Vaishya Vritti and Stambha Vritti. Not Puraka, Kumbhaka, Rechaka. These are added later. The initial or original words, now mark them, are number one, Vaishya Vritti. For the modern Rechaka or exhalation. Number two, Stambha Vritti for the modern Kumbhaka or holding breath or having a break after exhaling. And number three, Abhyantara Vritti for modern Puraka inhalation. Stambha Vritti or our modern Kumbhaka is the absence of both Puraka inhalation and Rechaka exhalation. Absence of both. That is called Stambha Vritti. Now these are called three vrittis or two movements and one break of breath. Three vrittis. Actually there are four. Inhale, hold the breath, exhale, hold the breath. Then you go on repeating. Inhale, hold the breath, exhale, hold the breath, inhale, hold the breath, exhale, hold the breath, like that. But we have two breaks now, two kumbhakas, one inside and one outside. Here vritti is not the smallest unit of thought. This is the difference. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. There vritti means thought. But here this vritti is not that thought. It is about the movement or motion and break of breath. Okay? Please remember it. Now the aphorism says these three vrittis, the modern Rechaka, Kumbhaka and Puraka, are dependent on space, time and number. They are controlled by space. When we say do this inside the body or outside the body, they are controlled by time when we say do these for such a long time or so much time. And by number when we say count this number while you are inhaling or exhaling, like that. So there it is controlled by number. They are practiced as mridu or low when you give less time and number, madhya medium when you practice some time more, and tibra means high when you give still longer time. Pranayama has two forms. Some scholars say like that. The tantra practice of kumbhaka or break in breathing happens after rechaka, after exhalation. That is the in definition of pranayama given by Patanjali in the first chapter. So this pranayama is holding the breath or having a break in breathing in. So the tantra practices kumbhaka or pranayama. As I said, Patanjali says pranayama means break or holding back the air. So having a break is called kumbhaka and that is called pranayama. And in tantra they do first breathe out and do kumbhaka outside and that is Tantra Pranayama. Very few of us do that in general. Actually, what we do, that is called Vedic tradition. When we do holding the breath inside, after inhalation, we inhale, then hold the breath. Exhale, then inhale and hold the breath. Exhale, inhale. There is no place for outside Stambha Vritti or Kumbhaka or holding the breath. There is no question of that. It's just 3 steps. Inhale, hold the breath, exhale. Inhale, hold the breath, exhale. So in Vedantic tradition or Vedic tradition, we inhale and hold the breath. And in Tantra tradition, we exhale and hold the breath. That is difficult. That is why they are used in Tantra. That is why the next pranayama is used universally. Swami Vivekananda said by place is meant that the prana is held to some particular place. That is, hold the breath inside, breathe in, about inside or outside. This process has been further explained at great length by the sub-commentators and also the later yogis. That is truly a fascinating study. Well, that is meant for the real yogis who spend their entire life in yoga practices. It is not the place for me to discuss those details now. We move on to the 4th pranayama. This is, we are hearing for the first time. Bajya abhyantara vishaya apekshi chaturtha. Vishayapekshi chaturtha. Swami Vivekananda says the 4th is restraining the prana by reflecting on external or internal objects. This is the 4th sort of pranayama, in which the kumbhaka is brought about by long practice. The 4th stambha vritti or kumbhaka is a natural one, which is not dependent on space and time, and of course not dependent on number also. This 4th pranayama is achieved after one has mastered the earlier 3 forms of pranayamas. Once again, those 3 pranayamas are known by the modern names Rechaka, Kumbhaka and Puraka, but by Patanjali, the Yoga Sutra, Bajya Vritti Pranayama, Stambha Vritti Pranayama and Abhyantara Vritti Pranayama. Again, Stambha Vritti Pranayama. Well, the 4th pranayama, that is done without the consideration of space and time, is also a long process with innumerable details of how to practice it. We do not need to go into those details for our purpose of studying this here. Now the Yoga Sutras is drawing the discussion on pranayama to a close. It is informing us about the benefit of doing pranayama after we do it following proper instructions. Tatah kshiyate prakasha avaranam. Tatah, from that, the covering avaranam of the light of chitta is attenuated or removed. We know that the chitta has by its own nature all knowledge. It is made of sattva particles, that is what Swami Vivekananda says, but it covered by rajas and tamas particles. And by pranayama this covering is removed. We need a bit explanation of that. Pranayama, like japa of mantras, removes the impurities from the mind so that we are able to attain samadhi, continuing our practice of other limbs of yoga. As we have learned, the impurities are nothing but those thoughts that are contrary to attaining our spiritual liberation, that stand as obstacles in our way of spiritual liberation or samadhi. They are called impurities. All the different 8 ways are meant to achieve samadhi by removing the impurities. Therefore, pranayama also helps us to remove the impure and contrary thoughts from the path of samadhi. a little more explanation is needed to make our understanding clear about what prakasa avaranam, the covering of knowledge, actually means. We generally know that the covering of knowledge means ignorance. But here it is not the ignorance which is removed. Then this would be the end of the practices of the other limbs of yoga. We are familiar with the saying avidya kama karma, ignorance, desire and karma or action. These actions are born of desire, which in its turn is born out of ignorance. In other words, karma or action is the life force or support of ignorance. Hence, when we are able to reduce or stop karma or action, ignorance will also be less active, right? Pranayama will reduce and finally stop the actions of our body and the senses. Body and sense organs are born of ignorance. When they stop acting, then slowly ignorance will be broken, will be actually weak. Pranayama will help us to know that we are not the body or the sense organs. This process will help us. When we think that the body and the senses are real and permanent realities, then those thoughts and actions are impure thoughts. When we think that the body and senses are real and permanent, then those thoughts are impure thoughts. They do not help us in our spiritual liberation. And then it leads us to the next level of yoga, which includes dharana, dhyana and samadhi, concentration, meditation and samadhi. So Patanjali moves to the next aphorism, that is 53. Dharanasu yogyata manasaha. Dharanasu cha yogyata manasaha. The mind becomes fit for dharana or concentration. After this covering has been removed, we are able to concentrate the mind. Pranayama is meant for fixing the mind to our desired spiritual objects or goals. That is the meaning of the word dharana, fixing, which is taught here as the sixth limb of yoga. That will come in the next chapter. Later on, pranayama will help us to achieve dharana. That is the idea. Patanjali actually deals with this, as I said, in the next chapter. Sometimes the first 5 limbs of yoga are considered to be the preparatory steps for the last 3 limbs. The first 5 are yama, niyama, etc. And the last 3 are dharana, dhyana and samadhi. Now Patanjali is bringing us back to the last of the 5 first part, that is called pratyahara. Pratyahara is a big discussion again. Pratyahara swasva vishaya asamprayoge chitta swarupa anukara iva indriyanam pratyahara. Pratyahara has 2 words combined in it. Prati towards, ahara bringing back. So pratyahara is the withdrawal of the sense organs. It is done when the sense organs give up their own objects. Then what happens to the sense organs? They take the form of the mind stuff, eva as it were. Let us go a little further into this, because this pratyahara is a very significant process here. We have heard a word indriya jaya, that is conquering or winning over indriyas, the sense organs. The process of conquering the senses engages us with each sense organ separately. You have to catch one and then conquer it, catch another, conquer it. This is a big problem. When the sense organs are in full vigor, it is a real challenge to withdraw them from their objects. It is like you are putting the frogs on the scale. You put 2 frogs on that and catch 2 more. By the time the 2 others have jumped out of that scale. It is like that. So the indriyas, the sense organs are like that. You catch one, control it and then leave it and go to another, then it starts dancing again. If by chance one organ is not so powerful, then you have better chance to control it. Like suppose my power of hearing is not that good. I will miss many sounds. That may be a saving factor when I am trying not to be disturbed by sound. And there are many such considerations we have to count on when we try to withdraw our ear from hearing. It is the same with all other sense organs. But yoga says that in the withdrawn state of the sense organs, they are almost merged into chitta or mind stuff. Remember, yoga means chitta vrittihi nirodha. You have to reduce the different thought currents in the mind. These sense organs become one with the mind stuff. It has its great advantage. When we guide the mind to one direction, the sense organs also go together to that direction automatically because they are almost merged with the mind. You don't need to put separate effort to guide the sense organs to the mind's direction. When we fix the mind on a spiritual object, the sense organs are also there with the mind. Even when the mind gets engaged in any outside object, all the sense organs remain with that object. Like if the mind is with a sound outside, then not only ears but also other organs remain with it. Actually, mind controls all the sense organs. You may hear things, but you are not really hearing because your mind is not connected with it. It is connected with the eyes that time. These sense organs do not have any separate purpose like seeing, etc. at that moment when the mind is attached to the hearing. Therefore, this process of pratyahara in yoga is a process of both conquering the mind and with it the sense organs. The divine commentator Vyasa used an example. When a queen bee leaves the old beehive, the whole lot of other bees follow her. And when he sits somewhere, all others sit with her. Similarly, in the state of pratyahara, the mind has the sense organs with it, and the mind has the sense organs with it, and it leads them together. Pratyahara means the mind together with sense organs are controlled. Then withdrawal becomes easy, pratyahara becomes easy. That is why yoga particularly emphasizes on this type of pratyahara or withdrawal, or you may say giving up, or passivity, or renunciation, whatever you may say. Tatah parama vasyata indriyanam. That is the 55th aphorism. I hope I would be able to complete it. Tata, from that pratyahara or withdrawal arises parama, and supreme, vasyata, control, indriyanam, of the sense organs. So this is again very interesting idea that from this pratyahara, what do you achieve? The benefit, what is the benefit of practicing the pratyahara? When the control of the organs is obtained, we feel how wonderful this body really is. It is helping us to attain our liberation. Some progressive yogis say that the word vasyata means subordination, subjugation, not control in its extreme form. Subjugation, subordination, not control. Not a complete avoiding, but reducing. It is like that. Hence the word indriyajayam, or conquering the sense organs, means not to allow them to get engaged in their objects which are prohibited by the scriptures. But then they can be allowed to go to the objects which are not scripturally prohibited. A kind of compromise. When you raise objection to that, then a compromise motive comes. And that is what is said by the modern yogis. Do some compromise. Don't be so rigid. The conservatives do not agree to this relaxation of the rule. They say, suppose you have touched fire and have come to know that it burns your skin. Okay? Then you will not be inclined to touch fire again. You will not be inclined even due to your asakti, attachment to fire, or being anasakta, unattached. Whether you are attached to fire or you are unattached, that does not matter. You will not touch fire. Whether you are swatantra, willingly do it, or paratantra, being forced by others, you will not touch it. Once again, you will not be inclined to touch fire, even due to your attachment or being unattached, willingly or being forced by others. You will not touch, because you have learned the lesson. And that is how Pratyahara helps us to bring the indriyas back to the mind, and they are almost merged into the mind. This is called conquering the senses by way of withdrawal, indriya jaya. That is the real meaning. This is real pratyahara or withdrawal. We will end here today, because from our next class we will begin with the next chapter, chapter number 3, which deals with the powers, both natural and supernatural, that are gained by the yogis. The chapter is called Vibhuti Pada. That would be very interesting, because most of the yoga practitioners are interested in what result the practices would bring to them. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Prayojanam anuddisya na mandopi pravartate. Even a dull-witted one will not get engaged in a work without knowing the benefit that would bring for him or her. Hence, the next chapter is interesting for many. Still, I would repeat the caution that almost all the vibhutis or powers are byproducts of something which is supremely bigger than these. That is the goal of the yoga philosophy. That is our personal spiritual liberation. Thank you very much. I end here chanting Om once. Om.